Over to you, Jason. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate that introduction. Am I sounding okay? My audio, everything? Okay, cool. I'm gonna dive right in. I know we don't got a lot of time, and I just want to share my journey, So instead of like over analyzing things in your mind, just listen from your heart. Um, I'm grateful to even be able to tell my story. And I mean, just 10, 11 years ago, people wouldn't even believe the story could be true. So just listen from your heart. And I just want to share my context of community, not to glamorize it, not to glorify it, just so you can understand like what the war on drugs really was like. Because guys of my generation, when you look around, it's like most of us can identify with a prison experience, even if it's not our own. It's like we either knew somebody who went and we actually had to talk to them while they were doing their sentence. So slavery and incarceration was a part, just from the beginning. So I want to dive into it. I want to leave time for questions too. Product of a strong mother, still love my father, even though, struggles with addiction. He's in a hospital right now in Chicago. Been on heroin since he was 16. So life was scary for me, that's why I'm biting my nails on this picture. It's like I was nervous. I was always trying to figure it out. And it was just tough on us. Love my big sister, Latoya. My mom gave birth at 16. I came along at 19 and they didn't have the tools and they didn't understand what was happening in our community. Nobody did. Nobody understood what the war on drugs really was. This actually around the time the war on drugs kicked off. This about 1983. So war on drugs kicked off in 82. So growing up in Chicago was just mad rough, man. Like my uncle went away at 12 years old and came home when he was 18. 6 years, and still to this day, he say he didn't commit the crime. And I'm like, but it took his whole life. Because after that, he did another 8, then another 7, then another 10. Then it was like, man, he just did about 5 years ago, he did 2 years in the Cook County jail. And I always, let him know I love him, but that incarceration at a young age broke him. It broke him. I couldn't imagine going in there with grown men at 12. Man. So I clung to my sister, you know what I mean? My sister, hey, Latoya Sole, she's at Columbia College, downtown Chicago. She's the truth, man. I was blessed to have a fun sister. Somebody who wanted to show me the ropes, wanted to teach me everything she was learning in school. So she gave me an amazing start. You know what I mean? She was smart and I, was trying to follow and keep up behind her, but I couldn't keep up with her. It's like she was socialized as a girl. I was socialized as a boy. 2 different tracks growing up in the 80s in Chicago. Very homophobic culture, whether it was Muslims, Christians, every organization hated people who, if you was a boy and you acted like a girl or painted your nails, they were like very extremely homophobic. And it just put us on 2 separate tracks. We went to Parkside Community Academy, 6938 Southeast End, if you want to look it up. And I'm actually doing stuff with my school now, but the memories, man, like I bust my eye on the fence in a fight, 2nd grade, had to go to the hospital, get stitched up, 3 stitches in my left eye. I was frustrated. I didn't like my financial situation at all. I couldn't understand it, man. I'm like, man, we are poor, people are dying. In 6th grade, one of my childhood friends passed away. She was a twin. She was an identical twin. And she died in her sleep. And I'm like, what? She was in 7th grade. I was in 6th grade. So I'm 11, she 12 years old. Didn't all of us had asthma? So you talk about environmental justice, we all can't breathe. For real. I'm inhaler, Michael Reese Hospital, Cook County. We used to have to go to the hospital a lot for my breathing. as a child, but my mom was holding it down, man. Despite everything, man, she was still trying to, I mean, I couldn't swallow aspirin at a young age, and she was frustrated at me because I needed to bring my fever down and stuff. And she would try to give me aspirin. And even when she broke it down to small pieces, I still couldn't. It must have been psychological. I was in my head about it. But a lot of those, childhood memories are just tainted with going to school and something terrible happened. Friends getting killed. My friend in 5th grade, she's a girl, Monique. She killed her father. He was beating up her mom, and she came behind him, and before she knew it, she said she had stabbed him like 8 times. But I didn't hear her side of the story. Like, they snatched her out and sent her to Minnesota. She graduated from Johnson High School. I never got to ask her what happened until I was 18 years old. I didn't see her from 10 years old to 18 when I bumped into her. We didn't have no social workers, man. Didn't nobody care. Nobody care about us, man. Jesse Jackson lived about 3 blocks from here. So while I'm watching him on TV run for president, man, he had never come to my school. So I got my own view of, like, elders and people who are like, no, man, some of them left us for dead. Some of them left us for dead while they wouldn't pursue whatever they pursued. So you got to think, man, they were snatching bodies. They were snatching bodies. All in my neighborhood, man. So shout out to Parkside. I went there from kindergarten through 7th grade, played basketball there, gifted and talented classes. But when I was 10, it was just a terrible year. Like I said, my friend ends up killing her dad. My uncle passed away. He was a professor at the University of Iowa, openly gay Black man, and he passed away of AIDS. And that was very scary in 1988. And I love my uncle, and I'm doing amazing work for him. He was, his dissertation was he studied slaves that ran to Canada from 1830 to 1890. He published it in 1977, a year before I was born. So I'm 43 years old. He passed away at 43. He was with the NAACP. Y'all know I was president of the Minneapolis NAACP. So it's like, and I didn't even know much about, it's articles of him coming home to die with us in Chicago, but his legacy is at that university. And, it's good jamming with them and talking about my uncle, Mayor Hale Washington. He died in 87. All this death, he was the first Black mayor of Chicago, man. The most progressive mayor in the country. Hands down. It's kids at his funeral. He died suspiciously, man. Y'all look it up for yourself. We didn't understand how this was our reality. It didn't make sense. Every time we had hope, it was snatched away. So in my neighborhood, I'm the kid all the way to the left, into the screen, standing up. We didn't have therapists and stuff, man. We had to hoop. We watching Michael Jordan on TV, man. It's like, that's therapy for us. It's like, at least we can not think about our situation for a little while. When I played basketball, I didn't think about my life and what I didn't have, and seeing my mom struggle to take care of us, like my father in AA classes. It was real for me as a child, man. So I couldn't think about stuff other kids thought about. I was thinking about how to like make my financial situation better. So my choices wasn't always the best. They kicked me out of Parkside, and I had 1 year left to go. Like I said, I went there from kindergarten through 7th grade, played basketball. We won 3rd in the district. Like, I was committed to school, perfect attendance. Like, I really competed in school. Gave speeches all throughout Chicago as a kid, played basketball at a high level. So I always was showing that I had talent. I always showed up, but when they kicked me out, it didn't make sense. I had 1 more year. My sister graduated from there. And it's hard growing up having every teacher my sister had. That's very difficult. She already, all my teachers already knew my mom when I first started the class, because I got all her. That is not fair. That's just not fair, because it's like, you think you know what I can do based off what you saw my sister do. And it's like, that ain't even like the right way to handle me, because like I got more aggression. I'm gonna do some research. It's always the second child. look, it's always the second child that feel like, no, I'm not taking this, man. I'm not. I look at my cousins, I look at my kids. Like the second one always has more of, something to prove. So I had something to prove growing up. But I graduated, man. 8th grade is like, it's a big deal because, with the school to prison pipeline, a lot of Black guys didn't get high school diploma. That was the reality. When we graduated, our teachers knew this probably is our last graduation. That's the sad reality of where I grew up. They looked at us like, wow, this might be it though. Ain't no guarantee you're gonna get the next one. That's how real it was, man. But I was shining. And you see, I got on a pink tie. This is 1992 in Chicago, man. I wasn't afraid. You better not challenge my sexual orientation or none of that. We're gonna fight about it. But I was nice with it, man. Had a great time that day, man. Lived it up. We got awards and stuff like that. And that wasn't my school though. Kosminski is on 52nd and Ingleside. So when you got time, do your research and look at these areas I'm talking about, because in the 80s and 90s, you had to be like a superhero to get out of there. Like I said, I love my mom to death because she was trying to figure it out. It wasn't designed for us to make it. I went to Paul Laurence Dunbar High School. He was a poet. Black people don't live long. You look at his years. Come on, you do the math. He was talking about us wearing a mask back then. Cold piece. You go to Dunbar, you gotta have some grit. You gotta have heart. It's a school of people we're gonna work hard at it. That's what Dunbar is known for. That's the legacy. Same school Jennifer Hudson went to. Shout out to Jay Hood. Mr. T, if you're familiar with Mr. T, he played football for Dunbar, man. Like Lou Rawls. We had people who went there who made us proud. And I wanted to follow in that tradition. So I went there really just to play ball. I knew they were gonna play, against the best. And I lettered in my sophomore year. So, and I had perfect attendance my sophomore year. So I cared about my grades, even though I was caught up in the streets. I joined a gang. I was all over the place. I thought about Ben Wilson a lot. He was the #1 basketball player in the nation. Got killed his senior year. Didn't even get his chance to go to college and the NBA. He was destined for the NBA. And they shot him not too far from his school. So I grew up with people like Common. He was a few years older than me, man. If you look at Common, the movies he's been in, the songs he's made, we didn't think he'd make it out of Chicago. He was in the game. You see Derrick Rose, Kevin Garnett. Hey, he's not saying hello to you in that picture. I'm just saying, man, like we had to scratch to get out of there, man. It wasn't given to us, man. And Kevin Garnett got a series he got a movie, Anything Is Possible. It's a documentary. Check it out if you can. I think it's on Prime Video. Thing is beautiful, man. Like, I'm a Kevin Garnett fan. So, please check that out, because he talked about what it was like being in Minnesota, trying to make it and trying to make things work, and then going somewhere else and winning the championship after all the hard work. So shout out to Kevin Garnett, Minnesota's finest. But I joined the gang, and I was 14, so it was my freshman year. And that came easy. It wasn't like I was asked to do things. They knew I cared about school. They knew I cared about my mom, my sister, my little brother. So I wasn't asked to do a lot, but I had to be at the meetings. And it was a lot for my mom to really handle, like, because I was trying to, she was trying to figure out how to raise this growing boy. And she did, like, she saw her husband end up, and they got married, and I do thank my father for that, like that he could at least marry my mom. Like, I appreciate that. It didn't work out, and she was doing the best she could. I just say that about my mom. Love my mom to death. We like this. I'm grateful to still have her with me. But I didn't do her right when I was 14, 15, my teenage years. I did not do my mom right. She knows, I've made up for it 100 times over, but this was the start of our like separation. She couldn't understand it and I couldn't understand it. I just knew I wanted money for us and I wanted us to be able to be happy. Joining the gang, I got the gang tattoo on my arm, 1994, my sophomore year, 1994 and that's not good. Of course, going to basketball games, playing against teams, and I got a gang tattoo on my arm. It was like, I knew I was going to have some problems, but, it really didn't matter to me. I just felt like I was equipped to be able to deal with those situations. But if I could go back, I wouldn't have done any of this. I wouldn't have joined. I wouldn't have got the tattoo. Like, I wouldn't have did that. My mom sent me to Waterloo, Iowa at the end of my sophomore year. I played with the top 100 in Chicago. I played at a camp with top 100 ball players a whole week. And she found those drugs and it broke her heart. So she sent me to Waterloo, Iowa. I didn't know about racism. I dealt with oppression in Chicago, but I didn't know like somebody would call you a nigger, like not in real life. Like I grew up all Black folks. I never went to school with anybody other than an African-American. Like kindergarten all the way throughout my sophomore year is segregated, Chicago. I go to Waterloo. Now I'm met with racism. I'm met with a Chicago label. I'm met with a lot of odds, man. Like I say, you gotta be like a superhero to make it through this stuff, man. You got other Black kids that don't like you. I talk different. I got a tattoo on my arm. I got an earring. I had an earring at 15. I was Muslim. I didn't eat pork. I was complicated, like for Waterloo, Iowa, and for, Iowa as a whole. You got to think we had the Blackest team in the state. I'm the kid right in the middle under the N, Afro. So when I come into your gym and I'm trying to score 30 points, I don't need you judging me and doing that. I'm coming to play my game. And, we got third in the state, but it was a lot emotionally because, like I said, I wasn't ready for the cameras and they had nice coach buses and stuff. I'm like, what is this, man? Like, we don't ride like this. Like, are y'all rich, man? I'm like, I felt like the Fresh Prince. Like, what? But it gave me a chance to see Black kids who was riding legit, who parents was able to find a way in Waterloo and give them a nice home and stuff. That was different for me. Like every kid I saw driving a car, I'm like, you got this car and you got license and insurance and you don't sell drugs? Wow. I'm like really impressed. And I was telling my mom, I'm like really impressed that they own homes and stuff like that. Cause where I'm from, I wouldn't have got a chance to see that. So shout out Waterloo, Iowa, man. I'm still good there, man. Still love my people in Waterloo, man. I come back a lot, but it was a big adjustment, man. My coach was racist. He's still racist. Coach McGraw, he's an amazing coach, but racist dude. And he know it and I know it. And I just didn't tolerate that stuff. I played ball my junior and senior year. And I held on to my values. Even when he would like to buy hot dogs and stuff he knew I couldn't eat, it was just always a battle with him. Like even when I was homeless, it didn't work out with my aunt. She still battles with mental illness and we love her to death, but at that time, she wasn't well and living with her just wasn't the best thing for me. So I really was raised by Waterloo. He knew my situation, but, he really just didn't care. He wanted me to perform for him, but it was definitely no love there. And it hurt because when I went down there, my Chicago basketball team, they lost to Kevin Garnett by 3 points. And it's just something I'd probably never get over. That's my friend Mike Newman right there, and Monteith Brown is in the middle. And if you watch Kevin Garnett's documentary, when they played Dunbar on there, he said, ooh, that was the game we almost lost. 3 points. And I was a starter on that team. I could have ruined Kevin Garnett's career. I don't know, man. I don't know, but I missed my opportunity to play against them, man. My poor decisions led me to Waterloo, Iowa. Yeah, we got third in the state, but I would have rather got third in the city with my Dunbar team because we fought battles freshman and sophomore year against Farragut, against all of them. And, I just ruined a lot of things by selling drugs, so it's hurtful. When I got my shot to be in the paper and all that stuff, I didn't know what to do with that stuff. I just had raw basketball talent. So I'm in there with my hat cocked to the left. I go to parties, I'm the guy in the middle or in the back throwing up a 5-point star. I had the good, I had the bad. Signed up for the military my senior year, was enlisted by March. Yeah, I was enlisted March with my friend Corey Taylor. He's still my friend too. So I was ahead of the game and I graduated in May. I never failed a class in high school. Like I say, I could do the work and I cared about school. It's just outside of the school, my life was rough and I had a job and still sold drugs. I had fights. I was complicated, man. Like I was really complicated, but my heart was always good though. So that's one thing people do know. Like my heart was always good. I was never like maliciously hurting people. But they rejected me after they enlisted me, and that didn't make any sense. It's in my yearbook and everything. I passed all the physicals, the written, I scored over 40. I was enlisted in the Air Force. Like, if I go back now and get all the paperwork and all that, you'll see, man, I probably can get a lawsuit. This altered my direction drastically. I could have planned for something else. Like I said, I never failed a class in high school, never went to summer school. I excelled in that, man. So I didn't understand how I didn't have any opportunities when I battled the odds. I won awards. I was captain of the basketball team my senior year. I ran in Drake relays. I ran at the biggest race you can run my senior year in the 4x1. How could I not get any opportunities? It was racism, man. And I fell into the trap. I was gonna be a soldier in the military, a soldier in the streets. Everybody who know me say, man, if you would have went to the military, hey, Purple Heart. I'm like, man, I missed my opportunity. I wanted to be in the Air Force. Like I did all of the work to be enlisted and it didn't make any sense, man. So I was in the projects. Now I'm back in the trenches, pistol on me. You don't know if you're going to make it the next day where I go to. Like, and my mom was doing better too. She moved to a better neighborhood when I was in Iowa. Gave my brother a totally different path. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I love about my mom. Like, she did figure it out. You got to think when I was 16, she was 35. She was still trying to figure out life. I understand that now because I'm older, but I'm like, dang, man, I'm 16, you 35. Yeah, that was a struggle for you, man. Like big time. And I didn't want to break her heart with me doing the stuff I was doing, man. She knew I knew better and I just couldn't do better at the time. Came to Minnesota and was trying to figure out my stuff. I was still on my same journey. Just gang life, not really thinking. I probably was depressed. More than likely, I was probably dealing with some kind of depression. Got shot right on University Avenue, if you're familiar with St. Paul. That was a dark time for me. My mom, everybody felt like I was gonna pass away. I was breaking people's hearts. And, it was like, I didn't understand what the police was doing to us out here. I really didn't get it. I was like, y'all know the streets safer with me out here. That's a fact. Y'all know I'm the one that's gonna referee a lot of this stuff and say, come on, man, how long we gonna do this? Like they tried to kill me, man. So it's a lot of violence out here in the streets. Like I said, I'm not proud, of what we was going through. Some of it is me making poor decisions and some of it is just overt racism. 12 gauges to my face by the police, pepper spraying me in front of 300 people. Like I say, man, it was common for them to try and break me. Common. In front of everybody. Fake cases, putting stuff on me. They were snatching people up, man. So I'm glad Mayan Burrell is doing well. They were snatching people, putting cases on them. And I was saying, oh, no, I need a lawyer. Like, what? You think what? That's why I never made a statement to the police. I never trusted them. I'm like, what? You saying I did what? Man, please, I'm taking that to the Supreme Court, man. Like, but never did they ever talk about me having a high school diploma. Never did they speak of me playing 4 years of high school basketball. Never would they speak of me having love for my sister and my brother and hoping they well. None of that. Black kid, Chicago, 9mm. Put them in a cage. I got caught with drugs that could fit in your hand. I served 40 months in prison for it. What I got caught with can fit in your hand. 40 months, slavery. I made 12.5 cents an hour at St. Cloud, working in the kitchen. It was capitalism, and I didn't have the words for it. I used to always say, man, y'all foul. Correctional officers, my probation officers all together, foul. And I knew it. I just didn't have the words for it. They was trying to take my life away, man. And all of my stuff is non-violent. I've never been arrested for anything violent. Possession. 19 years old, I get caught with a gun because people pulled a gun on me. I had it for my protection, but I couldn't say that in court. Yes, if the law says I'm not supposed to have it because I'm 18, I'll take my penalty. Why I gotta go to the workhouse for months though? You wanna send me to a cage and be in this unit with all these people with all these different problems? Man, that never was the right thing, man. But I can go on and on about that slavery experience. But what I didn't know was even after you serve your time, you gotta go through the new Jim Crow. I didn't realize that. So I was studying, looking at how Mandela came home and did something that mattered. Angela Davis. My mind was focused when I was in prison. I was a Muslim in prison. I don't practice anymore. I was a Muslim in prison when the Twin Towers fell. And they knew I was a devout Muslim. I read the Quran. I brought people in the temple, but I was cool with all religions. I was cool with people who didn't have a religion. I've always been open. My network has always been, hey, you included. I don't care if you big, small. I don't care about that stuff, man. That's high school and beyond. I was cool with the kids nobody liked. And I just was like, I didn't care, man. You can hang, we can have fun. Like, so when I came home, I was determined. I couldn't get a place to stay. Nobody wanted to rent to somebody coming home from prison. And going to school was on a whim. I was riding down East 7th Street in St. Paul. I saw Metro State. I looked at the school. I just drove in there, man. I said, hey, man, y'all got to sign me up, man, because I'm frustrated. I'm working at a hotel. I'm trying to get my life on track. I'm not making enough money. I'm thinking about selling drugs again because I'm just too broke. I'm broke, living in a bad neighborhood with an economically deprived neighborhood. I'm back in the trenches. People selling drugs in front of where I stay. I'm like, man, I've been trying to escape this my whole life. I served my time. I thought I would get a second chance. It wasn't no opportunities for somebody like me who was real, who was raw, and just had a lot of passion for changing things. There wasn't no space for that 2002, 2003. We had to create it. So when I went into Metro State, that's what Chuck McDougall was my advisor. May he rest in peace, one of the founding members of SNCC. So having him as my advisor, I was able to meet Angela Davis in 2004 in Minneapolis and volunteer for her. That put me on the abolitionist track out the gate. I'm like, man, y'all gonna let me volunteer with Angela Davis? Man, we got pictures and everything. Siobhan, Karen, Hosey, Sam Grant, shout out to him. They just said, we're not gonna let you go back to prison, man. They like, we got you. I became president of the Black Student Association, and we were radical. We were riding. We was talking Black liberation back then. You see, we got Dr. Rose Brewer up there, Dr. Keith Mays, both at the U of M. Sam Grant, Kwasi, and Elder Kwasi. These same people had my back when I became president of the NAACP. Like, it never changed. Marion Wright Edelman, legendary, gave me my first job working with kids at the Freedom School. That was my first teaching experience after prison. Like, she gave me my shot, and I was like, damn, man, this lady fought during the civil rights movement. For her to let me work with kids and to trust me, because a lot of the rules said I'm not allowed to work with kids, even though none of my crimes include any other person, not a co-defendant, not a victim. How can I not teach? The rules never made sense. So that quest for knowledge made me want to learn it just so I could give it back to the community. I didn't know I can get a job doing something justice related. I just wanted to learn my laws and bring it back to the hood. And I started mentoring a lot of kids along the way. That was dope. And I graduated in 3 years, man. I worked harder than everybody else. I took 6 classes one summer. No lie. I was just on beast mode. Won scholarships. Didn't really know what to do with the money. You know, it's like I won, what, $5,500 in scholarships one semester. I was on fire. My pen was on fire. Aretha Clark King. I won some pretty important ones, you know, some noble people. And I went and bought a car and put speakers in it. I came back on campus, boom, 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 boom. Man, they like, man, you are wild, but we love you. I'm like, hey, man, look, I got to clean up in a lot of areas, but just give me time. And I'm glad I was given time. So Bradshaw still loves me. We just had dinner, 4 months ago. You know, he left Metro State and went to Florida Gulf Coast University, but he even wrote a letter on my behalf when they was trying to give me 110 months in prison. True story about Dr. Wilson Bradshaw. He really wrote a letter on my behalf to make sure they spared me. But even that night, graduating, I didn't get to celebrate that. The convention center erupted. My family came from Chicago. It was beautiful, man. But I had to go back to a cage after I got that degree. People who know me will tell you that was a tough time to get my degree in criminal justice and have to go back to a jail cell for 5 more months. It was a lot. It's a lot, y'all. I could go on and on. But I met my partner in college, you know, so it was like, hey, during the flames, a diamond came out of it, man. like a precious diamond was created. And I'm grateful for her, man. Made me a much better person. Like, for real, like, truly. So love my baby. And she gave me some amazing babies. You know, it's like, these girls are amazing, man. They just such a blessing, like, not just to me, just to everything, man. It's emotional when I think about how they show up in the world. It's beautiful to see. It's beautiful to just watch. And I'm just glad to be there every step of the way, man. I'm all in their business. They bigger now. I even had to do corny stuff like this. Like I said, I was Muslim. I didn't celebrate these holidays. So I'm like, man, we got to knock on doors for some candy. Oh my God, I don't know why I'm doing this. But you know, I know it's for the excitement and stuff, you know. So I'm just glad they were patient enough with me, you know. Yeah, when my wife says time to take some pictures, hey, let's go ahead and do that. You know, she's a therapist, you know, like, got her master's at the U of M. I stayed studying criminal justice. She chose, you know, to be a social worker, and I love her for that. You know, like, she brought valuable skills home, like, you know, to help in turbulent times, for real, man. Like I said, my baby was smiling as a baby. She's 14 now, 5 honors classes. I mean, she's on her way, you know, she's on her way, you know, and I can, like I said, I get to witness it. And I've been doing restorative justice nationally across the country and trying to get people to understand what transformative justice is. So once I got trained in restorative justice 2006. So a lot of the justice work we already were doing, and we were already creating a groundswell in the Twin Cities. A lot of people just didn't know a lot of this because I wasn't saying it. I was kind of like trying to be behind the scenes and doing the deep work. And when it was time for me to ride, y'all know I stood tall. Shit, for Philando, for whoever, like Jamar Clark, All of them, man. Of course, George Floyd, but I've been putting my career and everything on the line. My safety, it's like when I was president, I was creating programs, Warrant Forgiveness Day. I'm grateful to bring that to the Twin Cities. We cleared up 230 warrants on that day. I was able to organize to get Judge Pam Alexander, Judge Bransford. We did it at Sabathani, which has its historical legacy. Judge Burke helped too, so definitely Judge Burke. ACLU, we really collaborated. I'm grateful to be able to bring that to the table. And they've had more Warrant Forgiveness Days since, so I'm honored to be able to do this work. To say when Mike Brown was killed, of course we were out there. And when I came back from Ferguson, I said, Minneapolis is one bullet away from Ferguson. I could feel it. I could feel it. And they killed Jamar Clark, man. I taught Jamar Clark's brother and his sister. So I knew them even before the world knew them. It was hard being out there. Mel Reeves, rest in peace. You can see him right there looking. I wore the ancestor piece that day. It was important for us to shut down that state fair that year, just because of the climate. And if you look at it, that was probably 2015, I want to say. It was before Philando got killed. And he got killed right by the state fair. I'm like, this stuff too eerie, man. Stuff be too spooky when I'm in it. When I'm front line, it's like I really hear Harriet Tubman and like I really move to that beat of that drum where it's like I'm seeking liberation. When they trying to build a juvenile facility, I stand against it. I wanted to teach in a hoodie. I had been teaching. I became a professor 2009 at Metro State. Became an assistant professor 2013. Really just didn't want to be at Metro State, even though I graduated from there. My wife graduated from there. They weren't ready for what I was trying to do, and I had to leave. Left on good terms, though. Like, it wasn't bad terms. Left on good terms, and Hamline picked me up right away. They called. I didn't miss a semester of teaching, so I was grateful that they saw the value and wanted to invest in me. And when they gave me my shot as an assistant professor, I said, I'm gonna teach with a hoodie. And I just hashtagged it, Humanize My Hoodie. You can see my family right there. But I wanted you to humanize me. You can see me as a father. You can see me as a professor. You see my wife there. You see the books I'm using. And people loved it. So me and my friend get to, my childhood friend from 16 years old, my first friend in Waterloo, Iowa, I get to run this with him. So it's sacred, and I'm grateful to do the sacred work. We create leaders all over the world. And I'm grateful. Super, super grateful. I dreamed of stuff like this in prison. Got the John Legend Award. I'm like, I don't even know how to receive that stuff. It's like, it's too much to really, like, it's hard to like process that. When I was in a cell, didn't nobody care about me. People wanted me to rot in that cell. So I'm grateful. This is what it's about, man. When I see these kids, when I see the youth wearing this, it's like, oh man, y'all trying to melt my heart. And these kids at Lucy Laney, man, so they be going through the struggle, and you can see he ready for prime time. So I'm like, I gotta get this kid on camera. I gotta get him set up. But it's a joy to be able to give back. Before COVID, man, when I go to my town, Chicago, Iowa, we bring out 500 people easy. The love's still strong. I never forgot about people. Through all of it, I never forgot about people. Go on the radio with my people, support what they doing. I'm a big supporter, more so than creator. I support more people than you really know, and that's my leadership. You know what I mean? I support more people. And these are some of my values. I know I'm running up on time, but I really help bring people home from prison. We're bringing Phil Vance home. You'll hear his name a lot more soon. I've been visiting him for 3 years, man, writing him for 3 years, like really looking at his case, getting affidavits written up, like really doing the work on his behalf. 19 years for a crime he didn't commit. So, and Maureen Ayanlobi at Shakopee, but I can give you a regional perspective of all the support I give to people in prison. I send them books. And I correspond with a lot of them. Me just telling them, like, it's like I try to give them the best advice I can give them to be able to succeed. And you kind of see that with some of the people that were under my leadership through the NAACP. I mean, you think Leslie Redman, Eliza Darius, like Kevin Reese, I can go on and on about the people you can clearly see I've invested my time and my love in them so they can be better leaders. And I think that's what matters the most. But these are some of my values. I definitely believe we can love and protect ourselves, because I've been shot, I've been in cages, and now I actually can help people understand the emotions that come with those experiences and say, you got to really put yourself in their shoes and think about how you would have liked to be supported if you had just got shot and you were 20 years old and the hospital didn't really value your life. So I just wanted y'all to go on the journey with me, because like I could see things that are not there. When I came home from prison, I didn't see any Black guys who were formerly incarcerated teaching criminal justice at a university. So I believe in what's not there. I'm not waiting for people to figure it out for me, man. I'm gonna try and figure out as much as I can while I got breath in my body. But yeah, that's what I wanted to share. I'm open to some questions and stuff. I don't have to hop off immediately if you want to ask anything.
Jason, thank you for sharing so much of your story and the interconnections between your upbringing and your work in the world. It's powerful, important. Yeah, questions. I know there was one chat question to me that someone asked if you were familiar at all or had done any work with Project Legacy in Rochester, or if you're familiar with that.
I've done a lot of work in Rochester. I don't know if it's Project Legacy in particular, but yeah, I'm like, when I go to Rochester, I got maybe 50, 60 people that I rock with. So I don't know if it's Project Legacy though, but I know some diversity council folks, I think it's Black Lives for Rochester folks. One clinic was doing some dope work. Bud, y'all, I don't know if y'all know Bud, and a lot of people know Bud. He from Chicago. He's an amazing guy. He try and create his own safety group and all of that. So I support him. I see a leader on here. I think, hey, you Rochester, ain't you? I see you. Yeah. I see you now. Okay. Yeah. So I rock with people in Rochester. Yeah. But I don't know particularly groups. I know individuals. You know, I'm like in the NBA, like I follow players. I don't really follow teams, you know, if that makes sense.
Yes, for sure. Alita's got a question. Alita, do you want to unmute now?
Sure. Well, Jason, it's just so lovely to have you with us and telling your story, which I've never really heard your whole story before. Very moved by all the pieces of it. I know that there are two particular things that you're involved with right now. You know, your aspiring abolitionist movement, and then, you know, you're doing work, and I know you're doing some kind of training at the end of this week around for allies.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look, other than a few people like our friend George here on the call, most of us are allies. And so, you know, the Humanize My Hoodie movement and training for allies. So would you mind speaking a little bit about those two initiatives? And especially, I think, you know, when you talk about the aspiring abolitionists, you know, having somebody who's read Angela Davis, and also, you know, that's a profound experience in terms of thinking about abolition, but like, what do we need to do to push this?
Absolutely. You know, just with Humanize My Hoodie, it's important because a lot of times people ask us like, hey, I'm white, can I wear the hoodie? It's like, yeah, it's for everybody, but you gotta know what to say. You gotta rep it. Hey, when you wear this, you gotta rep it right. You know what I mean? You gotta know why you wearing it. It's like, shit, we doing this for Trayvon, man. We doing this like, because when I got on the hoodie, people don't think I'm a professor. They don't know that I'm a father. They don't know any of these things, and they sizing me up. So we train allies, and I'm grateful to have accomplices leading a lot of those trainings now. So like I said, I started being a national trainer in 2008, showing people how to do circles and how to work through their stuff in prisons, jails, all over Philadelphia, Texas, Florida, you name it, Hawaii. I've done circles everywhere. And it was like, once I started doing that, I realized I can create a model for Humanize My Hoodie where people can understand in 3 hours what this really means. But, you know, it's like, man, I want you to pause for a second, you know, because you might not you might not know me. And just because I got on a hoodie, like when I got on the hoodie, if it's a black hoodie, or people be really afraid of me. And I'm like, man, I'm just trying to stay warm. It's cold in Minnesota. It's like, for real, like, don't hate me for this hoodie. So yes, we do those trainings. Seema, Cara, a few others will be leading some trainings this weekend for MLK weekend. Absolutely. And what was the other thing you brought up? Institute. Yeah, the Institute of Aspiring Abolitionists. I took a chance with that, man. I did a Kickstarter campaign, which is something I knew very little about, but I did my research and I put my work into it. You know what I mean? Like, and people supported in a big way. And we were able to raise $100,000, $105,000 in 60 days. So now I get to lead the Institute of Aspiring Abolitionists. We launching the website this Friday, but we want to make sure you ready to be in the Institute. So you got to do some homework before you get in, but I'll send you something, Luke, so you can send to some of your people. If you're aspiring to know more about abolition, we read Derricka Purnell's book, Becoming Abolitionist. We definitely working with Alex Vitale. I'll be in New York with him next month, doing some work. He wrote The End of Policing. I was in Milwaukee yesterday at Turner Hall, so I'm gonna share that with a lot of folks who contributed to the campaign and want to go deeper into work. We're looking at Colin Kaepernick's book, Abolition for the People. Like, I'm enjoying reading it, so I know how much fun I'm gonna have teaching it. So I'm just soaking it up right now, you know, because when I start launching the classes, everybody in the Institute, it's mainly about people getting to struggle with other people while learning. That's the main thing. It's not like you're just gonna come to me for the information on abolition. These books are the material. I'm a facilitator and give context to it with lived experiences. I'm going to California to spend time with Walt Jacobs. He helped us create the book Sparked, and that's called Sparked, George Floyd, Racism, and the Progressive Illusion. A lot of abolitionists wrote in that book too. So I'm just grateful to be able to do my life's work. My uncle who passed away, I get to go back to Iowa City and use his dissertation and actually educate folks in Iowa City. I mean, shout out to the history department there, man. They created a fellowship in his name. I didn't know anything about this. My family didn't know nothing about this. I'm like, how could this be kept away from us? But they say he still haunts that department. No lie, if you know somebody at the University of Iowa, because they kept delaying his tenure. He was giving historical figures voices. So like Harriet Tubman, he was like giving her voice, and Iowa wasn't ready for that. And you had to put out a book at that time at the University of Iowa, 85, 86, 87. And they kept delaying his tenure, and he was going to end up teaching at Carleton College. So it's controversy to it, but they love me enough to have these conversations, and he created a whole wave of Black liberation. So a lot of his students, they radical as hell, and I'm loving just being able to get to meet them. So I'm doing my sacred work right now. So thanks for those questions, Alita, because now I'm in a place where I don't have to depend, because y'all know I was working in the mayor's office and everything, man. Like, I've worked hard to go from 12 cents in prison to be able to make 100 grand in a mayor's office. That's a big leap. I'm just grateful to be able to say, I'm not gonna let no job define me. I'm always trying to do my sacred work and feel like I should be doing like the work that I was placed on this earth to do. It's starting to feel like that. Also, Rep for Minnesota. So look up repforminnesota.org. That's an abolitionist group where we respond in the cause of the community. We can only work up to domestic dispute. So we can't handle any domestic violence right now, but maybe in year 4 or year 5, we will be able to. I feel comfortable being called to a domestic violence situation, but as a group, as a core unit, we're not ready. So we don't want to put that stamp on ourselves, but we train our own carers. They go through scenarios. I train them on de-escalation with Susan Raffo, who's she's an amazing abolitionist. If you know Raffo, you know, talk about transformative justice, you got to bring up Susan Raffo. Signe Haraday, Rox Anderson, Hosina Manu, Yordi. Our squad is pretty dope, and we grateful to be able to handle some calls, and we invested in our own technology, so we run our own dispatch. So I'm grateful to be able to do these things. So thanks for opening that up, Alita, because I ain't good at promoting the stuff I do. Like I just keep working and stuff. So thank you for setting me up for that.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Are there other questions? Or George, I see your hand there. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, Jason, thank you very, very much for coming to our church and sharing the information that you've shared. You did it in a wonderful fashion, and I really appreciate it. And I know Bud's white porn very well. You're doing a phenomenal job as well.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for your kind words. I appreciate it. I received that. Yeah. Sometimes I got to put Bud in the headlock and say, come on, man, wake up, man. What are you doing? But love him to death. I wouldn't have it no other way. It's my guy.
That's great. Other questions or reflections you want to share with Jason? Yeah, Marilyn. Yeah.
Hi, just thinking about working with families, with parents with young children. And I really appreciate that you started out your story from the time you were a small child, from the time you were a baby, really. And what are your thoughts about as far as what would have helped your mom? What would have helped your mom in being a parent to you?
Yeah.
That would have changed, been able to change your life story?
I mean, really, I'm gonna be straight up honest, really just money. My mom was smart. My mom graduated top of her class. She never got to be in high school. Like my mom was really smart. So the thing was, my mom was supposed to be next in line after my uncle. She was supposed to be the next professor, she was the one. She was brilliant, but she fell in love with the bad boy. You know what I mean? Like she just fell in love with my dad. And, I think, really, like I say, my mom worked for the post office downtown Chicago. Now, like wrap your mind around this. My mom worked at the post office downtown Chicago for 28 years. My mom is a hard worker. She just it just didn't lead to enough money. My mom traveled from 77th and Ridgeland all the way downtown Chicago every day. I used to be like, dang, where's the money? Like, I'm like, I don't understand it because you working hard as hell. I see you. I'm walking you to the bus stop when your car don't work. I'm like, it's a lot. And, we was growing up together, man. She really just needed finances because once she got her finances in order well enough, she moved to a better neighborhood. Like I said, my mom, I'm gonna be real, my mom gives me the credit for bringing her to the Lord. my mom says, my mom gives me credit for introducing her to God. I'm not lying. So we had to figure out a lot together, man. And I'm just glad like I had enough time to really like give her flowers and just let her know, like, man, I apologize. I wasn't trying to like hurt you at all. I just really wanted our financial situation. So that's why I went to school. That's why I trained. That's why I just worked extremely hard. Like even though this, like, I'm coming up on my 13th year as a professor. It's like Hamline loves me, my dean loves me, the president, they treat me well. And I'm just like, I didn't even know a world like this was possible because where we from, people just don't love us. And my mom just needed some love and she needed some money because once she was able to get her finances okay, she was able to retire. My mom's 62, she retired. It's not enough money for her to get by on, but I can make up the rest for my mom. And that feels good to be able to say, yeah, you should go somewhere. You should. Because even, after my father, she never found love again. And, she really loved him, gave him 3 babies. You know what I mean? So I try and make up for what's not there. I'm a good son. It feels good to say that I am. I'm a good son. I work on it. So.
Well, and you're a good son and you had a wonderful mom. So she gave you a lot. And
gave me everything.
I'm sure she's proud as can be.
She is, man. She is. She right alongside me now. Yeah, it's dope.
Thanks, Marilyn. Thanks, Jason. Other final, in our last minute here, other final questions or reflections folks wanted to share? Oh yeah, Karen, I see your hand up there. Can you unmute there?
There we go. Sorry about that.
There you go. All good.
I was just wondering, what kind of things can we do, just ordinary people in our like everyday lives?
Yeah.
Just simple things that maybe people don't even think of to help break down the school to prison pipeline. How can,
Yeah.
just like going about our everyday lives, our jobs, what little things can we do that make all the difference in the world to people? Just wondering if there's, you know.
I would say it's just make it easy. I mean, we're in the pandemic. It's a lot for people. I mean, I see a lot of people making, you know, promises and really wanting to deliver on those promises, but a pandemic like slows you down, stops you. It does a lot of things. So I would just say make it easy for you to co-struggle with your people. It's easy for me to work with Rep. It's easy for me to work with Andre at Humanize My Hoodie. It's easy because we create a culture of, are you okay? Are you well? Do you need anything? You sure? We start with that. So we don't just dive into the work. So just make sure you're struggling with people that you got like deep love with, and think about the sacred work. So if somebody's not well in your circle, who's going to bring them soup? Who's going to make sure they're okay? If they feel like they're going to have a stroke, can they call you? Like, that's why we created the hotline, because we answer calls like that. It's like once you president of the NAACP, people just always gonna call you for the rest of your life. Like I see that's because I mean, people call me all the time and I try to be there for everybody, you know, but it's just not enough time. But once you've been president, especially of the Minneapolis NAACP, man, you're gonna always get calls. So I'm trying to get more people who can handle calls. So if you think about 4 or 5 people in your network, how are you loving and protecting them? If somebody's in a tough situation, like if you're in a tough situation and you feel like you're not in a safe situation, how many people can you call? Because that's what's going to reduce calls to police, and that's what's going to shrink police departments and put the money where it needs to be. How many people can you call? My sister, if she's in a tough situation in Chicago, she's calling me first. Then she's calling my little brother. Then she's calling my cousin John. Then she probably called the father of her kid, Brandy, my niece. But she got maybe 5 or 6 calls before she even thinks about 911. So think about how many calls you have. That would be really helpful for the work that I'm doing. If you can just think about who in your network can you call if you feel unsafe or if somebody hits your car. Because I mean, a lot of times people don't necessarily want a police report. A lot of times they want their car fixed and they want, to make sure their body is okay. So it's like, we don't need police to handle that. It's like, I could show up and like have my buddy Louise fix your car. You know what I'm saying? It'll be just like you went to the dealership. Like, we can figure our stuff out. So just give yourself, your autonomy back. We can really love and protect each other. We don't need people with vests on and tasers and guns. We have the ability. We just got to trust ourselves, like, and be willing to fail. I was willing to fail with that Kickstarter. Because think about that. If I worked hard for 60 days trying to raise the money, Kickstarter is an all or nothing campaign. If you don't reach your goal, you get 0. If I would have, I got it maybe 3 days before the deadline, I was willing to fail in front of everybody and take the loss and dust myself off and work hard again. So I think that's important too, being vulnerable enough to say, hey man, I'm not good right now, man. Like, I need 3 or 4 days to get my mental right, or I'm not feeling well. This is really impacting me. This is on my mind. I can't shake this. Like, we need spaces for that, man. Like, we need a lot of patience for each other too. So those are the things you could do on a daily basis. I really could talk to you about for 3 hours about all the things we could do, but I'll just say those things. Having more compassion at a time like this goes a long way. But if somebody's sick, let's coordinate a way to bring them some soup. I'll send you some soul bowl or something like that's what we do. You know what I mean? So like, we got to be thinking like that. Makes life more enjoyable.
Jason, thank you. I think we're kind of right at our time, and that's a perfect sentiment. Just creating communities of collective care. That's what we're all about as a religious institution, as social ethical people, and your work is powerful. Just a reminder to folks on this call, it's recorded. If there are folks you know that may have wanted to attend tonight and couldn't, so it'll be on our church website. And I'll kind of look back to you listed so many great resources and things to kind of continue to look up. So we can look back at those and have some lists. And if folks have questions, let me know. And check out you can check out Jason's work and Humanize My Hoodie online too with a pretty quick Google search, and you can come across some of that work and how you can support it or get involved as well. But Jason, deep gratitude for your time and for your sharing. It's just amazing work, and I so appreciate you taking the time with us to share about it.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me, y'all. Enjoy the rest of y'all night.
All right. Take good care, everybody. Bye-bye.